What's going on, world? I'm Nick Ross, and this is Fish Tank Sessions. All right, and we're live. We've got a special guest with us today. Ham Promotions is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. We have Michael Holtberg. Yes, Michael Holtberg. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he is one of the creators of the Ham Promotions group here in Dallas, Texas. And I thought it would be a really cool idea to bring him on to kind of tell us a little bit about Ham Promotions, maybe a little bit about himself, kind of his opinions about the Dallas scene, and just kind of get a different viewpoint for maybe things that we're thinking about, but maybe we just don't know. And who knows, maybe he wants to get a little bit more personal with us, and he might share some deep secrets. Who knows? We'll find out. So, Michael, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
All right. Thank you so much, Nick. My name's Mike, of course. I am one of the co-founders of Ham Promotions. My other co-founder is Austin, actually Ham, and also Angie. So we were sitting in our, I guess it was my apartment 3 years ago, and, we had come up with this idea. We're going to throw shows. Us three, let's do this. We want to change the Dallas scene. Let's get more people involved, different artists here, highlight locals, the kind of more geared towards the underground, bringing people up from nothing, bring them basically from the underground up and get them into the limelight, really showcase some of these people who have been producing for, X amount of years, but just haven't had the time or the right avenues to get their names out. So anyways, we were sitting there 3 years ago, and actually this is where Ham comes from. Austin's actual last name is Ham, so that's the H. Angie, A, and Michael, M.
Wow. I had no idea that's what it stood for.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Also, we wanted to gear towards, bass music, and we're like, all right, well, everyone just goes Ham, so hard as of course.
Motherfucker, people.
Exactly. So, it had multiple connotations, and, I've been listening to electronic music for about 18 years, and I was just thinking, what's always great is to have an image with, whatever brand you're trying to bring to. So the only other pig-related image in EDM was Kill the Noises record, and it was Slow Roast Records. That's the only other one. But it's like, I think defunct. I really don't know. So I thought we were in the clear for the most part. And, we've just run with this pig moniker on everything. As you can see on my bottle, I have ham everywhere. We have our Ham Nation. I made the actual emoji of a pig and now made it grimy.
I see that logo everywhere now, and it's like, it is so distinct because, when you see that pig, because you're right, you don't see it anywhere else. And I think that's what's unique, and especially with the term, it's just ironic that y'all's initials spell out ham. But you're right. Everybody's doing it because they're all going hard, as you would say. Right. And I think it just blends well. So I think you did a good job with that creativity on that stance.
Oh, I appreciate it. Well, that was 3 years ago. We were playing with that, and it just made sense. It really did. We actually, kind of funny story. Just the whole pig thing. We have all these stickers. We have ham monikers. Etc. Well, actually, a couple of promoters have actually gotten ham tattoos. I don't even have any tattoos on my body, but we have promoters who just, this really connected with them, gave them, an avenue for them to meet new people, to, break out of their shells. And so they love it. We have 3 people with tattoos.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever get the ham logo tattooed on your body?
Yes. I need a good graphic designer. Anyone know? Anyone?
Yeah, let us know.
Let us know.
Michael's looking for a good designer that can draw out his tattoo and put it on his body.
Yeah.
Where would you get it?
Probably my no. I really like the wrist. I guess the forearm area. It's very visible. It's there for myself. It's there for other people. It's like, I don't know, kind of doing the Spider-Man thing here. I just like it there. It's visible for both myself personally and also for the people that see it as well. So probably there. The other place was probably on my face. I'm
Like a little ham teardrop?
Yeah, a little
pic,
teardrop for for every sold out show.
My first thought would have been like the old school like tramp stamp. You see butterflies, you see a lot of like beings that exist on that lower back, but maybe not for you.
Maybe you don't see.
That's cool though. I mean that's just hella cool. And I know you mentioned some of the other founders. I know you mentioned Austin, and what was the other girl's name? Angie. Let me ask you a question. So before you met Austin and Angie, kind of what was going through your head before you met them? Because I'm thinking that, maybe once you met them, you guys all had like a collab and then came together and was like, holy shit, we can actually do something together. So was this like a burning passion that you've had even before then? Or kind of tell us a little bit where this all got started and created?
Right. So mainly, it's actually kind of an interesting story. Austin and I went to the same high school. So I've known him for almost my entire life. Yet he's a little bit younger than me, but he's like the business mind behind everything. I do a lot of the, photos and the media, and, I've always been behind the camera, kind of creating stuff. And Angie knows all these people from LA. So each one of us had like a different part in this whole ham project, I guess, and it couldn't happen without, anyone not being there. So it was cool. I met Angie through Austin, actually. She moved from California to Texas 3 years ago, and I believe their story was they met at a Zomboy show, I believe, or something at Stereo Live. Anyways, regardless, I met her, and it just made sense for all of us. I hated all the marketing and business kind of stuff. I kind of, personally, I did fall kind of short on my own photography stuff with, marketing, because it's that constant grind. You have to take your pictures, you have to do this, and then you have to say, hey, look at what I did, and
even like today, it's not even just taking pictures. I mean, it's taking the picture, then taking it back, putting it on your computer, editing it, making it look just so pretty before the world sees it. That's really the life we live today.
Well, then you also have to market it all.
Sure.
I sucked at that part. I'll tell you, I was not good at that. I was like, I'm just going to keep on taking photos and doing video stuff and, and just see where it goes. And I've been doing that for, 8 years. I've traveled pretty much all of the United States on tour. I've shot over 400 artists, and that's kind of where this stemmed from. I kept on shooting like really big artists. I was, traveling with Zed's Dead all throughout Texas. I was doing, every big name EDM person who's coming through, all the festivals that came through Dallas. It's like, cool, I want to shoot that. Boom, I was on it. I had the portfolio. I had been doing it long enough. I had made the right connections. So really, that kind of was my sector. And then I kept on seeing Austin at all these shows. Literally, I'd be, on stage looking, taking the pictures, and we would just meet eyes. It was hilarious. It was just fate. We'd meet eyes, and then, oh, what's up? Holy crap, you're at this show again. And he's always by himself, just loving the music, And I was always there. So that kind of formed this kind of interesting bond. Even though we weren't together, we were there together because we were there alone. It was kind of interesting.
Michael, I think that's really cool. So what would you say ham? I mean, I know you've told me now what ham actually stands for in the abbreviative text, but what does ham actually stand for, like, in the community?
Well, in the community, I think it stands for just a lot of progression for, the little guy, standing up for, the people who have been making music and just don't have the right spotlight to showcase any of that. I think that that's one of the key things is there's just so many talented people all over the world, but we're focusing on Dallas, and I want to focus on the people that have been making music or being creative and showcase them, because this place is really cool. Dallas is giant, and I've met you through this. I've met so many people through the electronic scene, and it's just amazing. All these people have their different ways to help out, or they have their different I used to be actually heavily into the house scene, and it was just cool, like, seeing all of the people involved in that house scene, and now we're moving completely in a different one. So ham in the community is really just doing it for the people that I want to help out, honestly.
I think something else that you do that ham brings to the table here in Dallas is something called open decks. And what I find is so cool about open decks is like what you were saying, there's so many people that want to be somebody. There's so many people producing music, mixing music, and just kind of putting their own flavor on other different vibes that are out there. And I think open decks kind of allows people to express themselves a little bit further than kind of where they're doing maybe in just their house or their apartment, or maybe they're, doing a local show at a bar, at a restaurant, maybe even a small venue. Why don't you tell us a little bit about open decks and kind of how all that works?
So continuing with our, the community vibe, we did local shows, we did all these other things, but we wanted to really reach more of the community and help them out, because that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming to help out people that make this scene, not just the big guys who've already made it. We want to get to the nitty gritty, the underground, really the people that don't have the equipment, let's say. I mean, I don't have $4,000 just to spend randomly because I want to get into a hobby. So if I wanted to do DJing, all of a sudden, Open Decks would be that first place. There's CDJs, there's mixers, there's a crowd, and you have a platform now to play. So it really stems from, the whole open mic thing, because, back in college, I used to attend those with all my buddies. They read poetry, played guitar. I used to be really in the indie scene.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So
cut my wrist and black my eyes.
Yeah, some skinny jeans and some black eye makeup. But so, anyways, I like that idea. Being able to give someone all the tools they need, and all they just need to do is just bring their talent. And that's what's really cool about open decks. Most of these kids have really been brutally honest with us. Hey, man, I've never played open decks. I don't know what this is. Actually, you know what? I've never touched CDJs. And it's cool. We have a cool community where people are like, all right, this button does this does this, 10 minutes later, they're like, all right, got it done, So it's really nice seeing that camaraderie and people showing other people and helping out. It's not just like, oh, well, you don't know that, I'm going to shun you, because that.
No, and I think that's what's awesome about it is there's the help, and then there's the aid, because exactly, you do have those people that are sitting at home maybe playing on a $200 mixer, and then they walk up to some CDJs, see all the buttons, like, holy shit, what does this do? And I think that giving that transparency and also that guide to support them and show them kind of how all that works, and really, hey man, all you got to do is show up, bring your USB. We'll walk you through how the actual platform works, but in the end, you're really just doing the same thing, just on more powerful equipment with a lot more features. And in the end, I mean, if you don't know all those additional features, you don't got to use them.
Exactly.
And I think that really just gives people the transparency to show up with their USB, plug in, and really just kind of get down. And that's what it's fun. And I think as soon as someone does that for the first time, I mean, I've never done it. I've never DJ'd, but I got to say that if I was a DJ and I was someone that practiced at home, never performed for somebody, maybe I was nervous to show up to open decks, maybe you had a couple events, I've seen it on Facebook or I've seen it somewhere else. I'm like, man, one day I'm going to show up and I'm going to play that mix that I've been working on, or I'm going to show that song that I've been making. And then you actually show up, you play it, you realize it's not that scary. And then you probably feel like you're on top of the world, even though you're playing with a bunch of other DJs, and then also you're playing for a bunch of people you don't know. But I think it gets you out there into the community, and it allows you to express yourself freely. And I think that's kind of what people are always fiending for, but there's also that fear. It's like, oh man, I got to be on stage. But hey, man, if that's what your passion is, you almost got to get past that scary part and just fucking do it.
Yeah.
I mean, half the time is just showing up to things. And sometimes, I know myself sometimes. Sometimes I overthink things. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to start a podcast. I'm fucking, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about? I don't want to hear my voice all day. I hear my voice enough, but I think just doing it allows you to get more comfortable, because I've heard this one line one time where the more uncomfortable things you do, the less uncomfortable they become. And I think the more opportunities that people have to go out there and express themselves and show off their music, show what they're all about, really just gives them just a better stance, not only in their personal life, but also in the skill that they want to be as they go on and progress and grow themselves as an individual, or possibly a DJ or a producer. You've been doing this now for a while, and it seems like you, Angie, and Austin have really got involved. So I got to ask, what keeps you guys going? Where's the drive come from? Where's the ambition that just makes you guys kind of go head to heels every day, pound the pavement, get the community around? So what drives you? What keeps you going? What wakes you up at night?
So really what keeps me going is just knowing that the more shows we can throw, the more locals we can put on, the more people we can showcase, the bigger we can go. The whole point is also for us to have a goal. I've realized, like, personally, I guess, is always good to have a goal, and our goal is festival, some type of festival. And in that case, we have to continue throwing shows. We have to continue to prove ourselves. And, the more we do this, the more we'll find out about what we need to do, because it's all just practice towards this huge goal, And also, it's not really the personal gratitude if someone's coming up to you. It's really the excitement that I see from people when they're like, I'm having so much fun. And it's cool because it's not just anyone's event, it's our event now. And that really makes me feel happy, because I've been in event planning for most of my life. I love it. And then that's what really gets me going is, when people enjoy it, they're like, I had a blast at this event. And everyone has their own experiences, but, that smile, the giddiness, just, it reminds me of when I was doing it and how appreciative I was. So this is kind of like I'm giving back, and this is what, I guess Ham wants to do. This is kind of our way of saying thank you. So we're trying to provide that as much for, all the new kids who are coming up into the scene. Because, I've been doing this since I was 18 years old. My mom, actually, when I was 15, I got my first CD. It was Paul Oakenfold. Yes, the CD, wow. CD, Paul Oakenfold Transport. Stuck that in, and I never looked back. I just listened to it constantly. And really just seeing how excited I was then, and then, mirroring it and how these kids, I've been doing this since I was 18. Now they're 18 and I'm a lot older. So giving that whole experience back to them is really cool. I've been to countless festivals, and, I hear kids like, hey, this is my first festival. UBW was my first festival. Your show was my first EDM show. Like, that's really cool. There's so many people who are new to this community. And when I started, I don't know when you did, but when I did back in 2000, it was a really underground thing. There wasn't all this publicity. There wasn't just every weekend packed full of shows. It was like, when's the next one? You didn't really know. You sometimes had DJs come through, maybe, if that was the cool thing, but it was just such a smaller scene then, and it's amazing how much it's progressed, and so it's just cool being a part of it.
I mean, I gotta say too, I haven't been in the scene as long as you. I just got introduced to the scene really in 2015, and before that, I was one of those guys that was like, I'm not gonna be one of those. I don't have no desire to go to a show. I'm gonna listen to my Nickelback or my Creed album and just like sit back and chill. No, I mean, once I found out exactly what it was all about, it just took me over. And it just inspired me in so many different ways. And I think kind of what you're talking about with the shows that you put on, to see those people that have all of that joy and that happiness, and you can say, I helped create that smile for that person, or I brought joy to this person because I got them out of the house and I basically gave them something to come to where they felt comfortable and they just had a kick-ass time. I think there's not a whole lot of that actually going on. I mean, because I think, you go to these other events, and now, like you said, too, there's so much promoting going on with the EDM scene. And I remember even a short time whenever I got into it in 2015, I didn't really see a whole lot of attention-grabbing publicity for shows and events. And now it's just like you can't even open up Facebook or Instagram without even seeing all these events that are happening left and right. Before it was just Dallas. Now I'm starting to see so many different things happen in Fort Worth. And it's just really wild just to see the transition of things as we progress. So since we are kind of talking about the Dallas scene, because I've heard a lot of mixed opinions on this topic. So what do you think for you personally? What do you love about the EDM scene here in Dallas?
That's a loaded question, first of all. Super loaded, but I'm definitely down to tackle this one. So what I love, the blossoming scene, it's really crazy seeing. Pretty much, it used to be only Lizard Lounge playing any music. It used to be only one place where you could go and get electronic music, and now it's, I don't even know how many venues actually host EDM events. I think 30, 40. It's unreal. So, just seeing the growth is really awesome, and seeing that become more commercially available for all these people. Like, hey, this is what I've been listening to. This is what we've been listening to for, X amount of years. And it's cool. It kind of coming above ground, but also every time that happens, there's a lot of people who just see money, dollar signs on things. And that's where it becomes kind of difficult, and seeing what people are truly there for. Are they there for the community? Are they just there for, this is just money in the end of the day? This is just another venture. So we're trying to set ourselves apart from that. And it's just interesting seeing how people are evolving. But there's so many things I love about it. I love the people. I love, the camaraderie. I love the creativity. There's just so many things. I mean, honestly, it's been my livelihood for such a long time, going to these shows. I mean, it helped me travel all of the United States. So there's a lot of things that I love about EDM and the culture and the people.
I think that's cool, kind of what you were saying about how, it used to be just such like an underground world, and it is kind of starting to come more above ground, where you're starting to hear, a lot more people coming to the community, coming to the scene, coming out to shows, going to festivals, talking about it, and exposing their own creativity into the world of the EDM culture. And I think that's something that you don't see a whole lot with other music. And I think that's something that really allows people to express themselves and, in a way, just makes people fall in love with it.
Along with that, comes a lot of different pitfalls, I guess, of anything that gets as big as EDM has now gotten. And personally, it's different from me professionally. So personally, it's hard because, when I was shooting shows and being really just involved in everything, it was, you always wanted to bring the new people, the up and comers and things like that. And that was always like, oh man, I've seen this guy 17 times in 1 year. It kind of seemed dull, I guess. And that's, I guess, where everyone starts branching out to other events and they go to different scenes and like, okay, well, maybe the dubstep isn't really what I want now. I'm going to start moving towards house and techno. So that's kind of where I moved, and, you get involved in that scene. But, I think it's hard because professionally, it's hard to always put your money on the underdog. People are very business oriented, and some people don't realize, like, you can't just lose money forever. I would love to bring every underground artist, but it has to make sense for everyone, because I'm not made of money, neither is our company, and I'm sure that's why, some of these bigger ones are doing so well. They know what is successful, and they continue to move with that, and that's a hard thing professionally to balance. Is like, we want to still do well, but also we have to do well so we can bring these people who are unknown, who are the new up and comer from Louisiana or New Mexico or wherever it might be. So it's a different beast that you have to tackle with EDM, and I guess it's something that us as a company have struggled with a lot, and trying to figure out, well, it's always a gamble. It really is. This is a very difficult scene to work in. Well,
that's kind of wild too, because I was just kind of thinking about what you said, and obviously, you probably know a lot of local talent, and plus you probably are well connected too with some of the other guys and the other DJs and producers that are well known. And that's got to be tough, because whenever you are doing an event, I'm sure you got people from every direction pulling, hey, Michael, can I get a set time? Can I get on? What do I got to do to be a part of this? I'm sure it happens left and right, and you got to say no sometimes, and I'm sure it hurts because you really want to let everybody on, but like you said, it's got to be practical. It does cost money to throw these events, and I'm sure there's been times where, you've thrown successful events and it made worthwhile, but I'm also sure there's been times where you've thrown events and you've probably lost thousands of dollars. I'm sure it's happened. And I'm sure, people want to come out and they want to see that big name, or they want to see someone that they're familiar with, but I think it's cool that you bring kind of a variety of both. It seems like, you got some of the guys that are, maybe they're not huge name labels, but, they're making some traction in the scene. They're making some tractions, around SoundCloud, Spotify, and they're getting known, they're getting followers. But you're also bringing in those local people that are talented and giving them a chance to rise and shine before you have maybe your main headliner go on.
Right. So that's pretty much it. Is just that balance of finding the DJs that are gonna perform well, do well, that people will like, and also not costing an arm and a leg.
Sure.
So anyways, it's been a blast. I've learned so much about business, a lot about marketing, about, just interpersonal relations, talking with all these managers and all these things. And it's great, there's just a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I think a lot of people, including myself, hell, I didn't even know, even when I was a photographer full time, I didn't realize how much went into it. All the booking, you have to really just get someone from point A to point B and make sure that everything is taken care of, and that's something that people don't always understand. It's like, yeah, just bring this guy. That sounds great. Well, I mean, I agree totally that I would love to bring all these underground artists,
But you also got to make sure the show goes on, and
Exactly.
there's no type of technical difficulty. There's not some type of big mistake, because that can happen, and it kind of just throws the show off. So you got to almost be practical with your decision making and ensure that you have the right people going on.
Right. So, we're very fortunate to have all these locals that have performed tremendously. We've had hundreds of locals through our shows, and we're so thankful.
So what what are kind of some of the things that you really just don't like about the scene here in Dallas?
Well, professionally, it's still business, and it's hard because I want everyone to play together, and that is hard to get around everyone who's a business type. I'm not a super business minded person. First one to admit. Like I said earlier, I do all the photo and video, all that media. So, my idea is just let's get everyone to do everything together. But, and that's the hardest part is, different people have different ideas, and that's hard because not everyone agrees on things. And, you have to compromise things in different ways that you didn't think you would, or it just doesn't work out. And, sometimes it hasn't worked out for us. We haven't worked with certain companies or certain people because, whatever reasons. And so that...
No, I mean, that makes sense. And I mean, it definitely seems like, even from what I see on my side, not being in the business aspect of it deep like you are, but I mean, there is. I mean, everyone's almost fighting. It's very competitive.
It is.
I see it a lot too on like the promoter side. Especially just like on social media, where I see anybody can just about now register to be a promoter for a certain venue or a certain event, and then you just start seeing everybody registering and everyone's shooting off these, hey, use my code, get 10% off, and then like when you see somebody else do it and that person gets a little grimy, or hey, this is my community, I don't want you posting over here. It just seems like almost like a cat dog battle constantly out there, especially when it comes to promoting. But even like on the side that you were talking about in the business aspect, I mean, you're right. I mean, everyone's in it to make a buck. I mean, especially people, if this is your passion, you want to find a way to make it something of your own, but not do it all for free. I mean, there has to be some type of benefit. And yeah, I get it. We all want to have the happiness and the joy. You just love the music and having the connections with people. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's not free. Right. It's not free at all. So there has to be some type of benefit financially to make them continue going. So I could totally understand why that would be kind of something that really doesn't sit well with you. But you've been doing this for a while. Ham's been around. It's got a really good positive name here in the Dallas community. So how often do you guys do events? And, kind of let me know about some of the people that you've brought into some of your prior events to kind of, pump up the crowd.
Sure. So we aim to do an event every month. It's with such a small core team. We did 4 events, I think, in 2 months, and it was nuts, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but from booking to making sure that all the hotels, there's just a lot of back end things, and making sure that all the photos, everyone has seen the pictures, there's just so much going on. And on top of all this, Angie, myself, and also Austin have jobs, so it's hard for us because we can't dedicate that 200, 400%, we're dedicating as much time as we can, with being sane as possible.
Which is tough. I mean, it's tough getting pulled in different directions. I know it now too. I just started this, but even I've had so much passion that I've been almost feel like I'm being split because I have my other job, and then the evening times I get to do this and practice with the recording, and it's almost like you just want to quit everything you got and just focus on one, but then you can't because you're not making the same type of money to support yourself. Exactly. Not yet. So you got to be able to juggle. You got to be able to adapt and kind of put your mask on for this and then put your other mask on for that. And,
right.
I think it's tough doing that sometimes, but the people that do it well, show that sanity and are able to kind of balance both of those, and not a lot of people can do that. So that's impressive that all three of you, being as heavily involved with Ham, are still also able to manage having a full-time job as well.
Yeah, it's it does get difficult, when we're looking for answers during the days, and it's like, hey, well, we're all working, so it's right, we do live kind of these separate lives of, here's my day job and here's everything at night, and at night is where we meet endless times, talking about ideas, coming up with different type of marketing plans, things like that. So that's what it takes. It's honestly a second full-time job, but I wouldn't trade anything for it. Anyways, we try to aim for, like I said, about a show a month. That just makes it manageable. We try to aim for about one show per month. It's manageable for all three of us, getting out content, making sure that we've promoted our shows well enough to make sure that, everyone who knows about a show and wants to, can still come out. If we do too many shows in a month or within a short amount of time, people get burned out, they really do. So, sometimes it's like, yeah, this makes sense, but then you also have to take a step back and say, does it make sense as a showgoer? We have to sometimes step back, and it's like, wow, maybe this might not be, because, between just our company, there's a handful of other companies still doing the same thing. You're all fighting for the same thing, and we have to try to space them out. So we do about a show a month. It makes it manageable. We focused mainly in the beginning heavy dubstep, a lot of rhythm. That was such a small underground community. We wanted to kind of aim for that. I really do love dubstep a lot. I grew up with UKF, all sorts of stuff. As things progress, as music continues on, our idea of what we like now changes. I used to be only dubstep, only this, and then I branched out to house and jungle, and I love drum and bass, and all sorts of things. So we're trying to take some other actions to go in different ways, kind of make it more eclectic, because you can't pigeonhole yourself in just one genre. No. Otherwise, you're going to get the same person showing up to the exact same thing.
Exactly. And I think that's what's really cool is you get that variety of fans that kind of come out, and it's not just aiming for that one type of group. You just got the bass heads coming out all the time, especially if you've got that variety in different styles of music within the EDM scene. Because we all know there's so many genres, so many sub-genres of sub-genres, and you can find people that just like all this weird shit, but then you also have the people that just are just simple with house, and that's what they want to go with.
Right.
And I think that's what's cool is keeping it all blended. Did you kind of run into any type of obstacle along the way, any type of speed bump, when you got started that was just holy shit, now what do I do? Maybe you reached out to that first artist, or you reached out to that first manager, and you're like, hey, I'm just doing some cold calls and I want to go ahead and try to get somebody out to a show, and then someone was actually like, well, you know what, let's go ahead and do it. Did you have any of those lollipop moments like that?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
So really it was probably Dirt Monkey, our first show. It was our second show, sorry.
I have some raw unfiltered honey here.
Okay.
Would you like some raw unfiltered honey?
No, I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate it. I have my water. Thank you. So our kind of moment like that, I wouldn't be an epiphany, but the kind of holy shit, this is real. We're gonna have a really big artist with us. It was Dirt Monkey. We had one other show before that. It was Sweet Tooth and Helicopter Showdown. We brought Sweet Tooth about 3 other times. He's been such an awesome artist. Anyways, I digress. So Dirt Monkey, the idea really stemmed from Austin, and I had never heard of Dirt Monkey. I didn't know what the hell a Dirt Monkey was. And he's like, dude, we have to bring this guy. So checked out his SoundCloud, and being through all this music and seeing all the trends, I was looking at the SoundCloud numbers, looking at the Facebook followers, looking at all these the metrics, kind of determining, holy shit, this guy's really big. He wasn't at the point where he is now, but he was a big artist for someone who'd only booked one show, and we winged it. We winged it and just said, yep, let's talk to this artist, on this really big agency. And it was kind of surreal when they said, yeah, let's do it. He's up and coming. We feel like you guys know what you're doing. You've, you have the pictures, you have etc. Whatever made them say yes, it was awesome. So that was our big kind of breakthrough with Dirt Monkey. We packed out the Green Elephant. It was amazing seeing these people I've never met come to our show. That was probably the craziest moment so far.
I could just imagine kind of that feeling when You know, especially when you find out you got Dirt Monkey coming on, then he actually shows up, and it's like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is real.
Yeah, it
This
really
is happening.
It was kind of surreal moment. Like, emails are emails. You're talking with people. It's kind of really, to be honest, very impersonal. You know, you're just talking on a laptop. Hey, come here. Here's the prices. And then it's like, holy shit. You know, we went all out. We got blow up balloons of monkeys and bananas and all sorts of crazy shit. We're like, dude, we want everyone to have fun. Kind of funny because we brought him back about a year later, but at the Deep Elm Art Company, and on his rider was now inflatable bananas because we had kind of started that trend of like, dude, yeah, let's have
That is
bananas.
awesome.
So it was kind of funny seeing like,
I was actually at that show, and that was my first Dirt Monkey show,
No
and
way.
I honestly had no idea who he was, and my buddy Steven invited me. He's like, oh man, you have to go to Deep Elm Art Co. and see Dirt Monkey. And I remember going there and seeing all the monkeys and the bananas,
Yeah.
and it was just one of those times I was like, wow. It made me go bananas.
bananas. Yeah. Oh, there's way too many puns that I made in my videos.
You should maybe make like the ham pig eating a banana.
We could for the next time.
That would be pretty cool, right?
Yeah. So I guess that kind of excitement, the fact that that was your first Dirt Monkey show. I mean, like, that's what makes it cool. You know,
And I didn't even know you then.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was your event. I was going to Deep Elm Art Co. because I got invited to go see Dirt Monkey. And
Yeah.
that was before I even knew who you were.
Yeah, that was 2 years prior.
Yeah.
2 years prior. Wow. So that's really kind of why the EDM community is so cool right there, because I've only known Nick for 6 months, yet he had been to a show that we had hosted 2 years ago, and it's full circle. You know, that's what's really cool. This scene is so small yet so large, and you know, you can find all sorts of friends through it. You know, I've met lifelong friends who I don't even live close to, but you know, every time I go to Colorado or New York or whatever, they'll hit me up. I'll hit them up. Hey, what's going on? It's like you've never left off from where you were. So,
I mean, I got to say, like you said, it is a small world, it's a small community, but like you say, a small world, big family. And that's what everybody is here in this community.
for sure.
Where do you think Ham's going to be in the next 2 years? Like, where do you see it going?
So, it's one of those things where you want to be somewhere in X amount of time, but it's always going to take fucking longer. It always is. You know, you have to. There's so much groundwork you have to do, you know, and this kind of goes back to, you know, anyone who started. Like, you just have to keep on pursuing things, you know, you have to keep on grinding away. You know, if you're DJing, you can't expect to be playing main stage, EDC, Ubby Dubby, you know, fucking whatever show here in just 1 year. Yeah, there's these outliers. Yeah, there's great people that got picked up immediately, but most of these people, you have to dive in. You know, some of my favorite artists have been under 4 different monikers for 7 years, and then they're finally getting into the, you know, the limelight. They're finally getting the spotlight they deserve. So, you know, it's just one of those things, and I have to keep on reminding myself it's not gonna happen overnight. Nothing will.
Well, and it's not also going to be main stage. I mean, I think there's also so many DJs out there that just feel that maybe if I'm not playing main stage at a big venue, then I'm nobody. And a lot of times, I mean, when you think about it, you got to be in the dirt to get somewhere. You got to, almost like a plant. It starts out as a seed in the dirt, and then it grows up and becomes this beautiful blossoming plant. And you got to go play at that bar that has nobody there, and you got to go play for free. And you got to get your name out there. And then from there, that might evolve into a bigger club where maybe there might be 20 people that show up, and you're still playing for free. And I think you got to go through all those steps. And then eventually, if you work hard and you're good, where people want to come back, then that brings you to bigger events or bigger headlining events, or it brings you to a bigger venue. And I think there's so many people out there that are just so hungry for the big. They don't want to do all the little baby steps in between, but you got to crawl before you can walk, and you got to get in the dirt, and then you got to rise above that dirt.
Oh yeah, I to resonate with that. I mean, I did shoot a lot of shows for free when I first started. You know, you have to build your portfolio, and just as we are as this company right now, we're building our portfolio for shows. I mean, we've done roughly 2.5 years worth of shows, but you know, that's just a very, very small stepping stone. You know, in a couple years, what we're trying to do is just, you know, obviously branch out, get bigger, be able to throw some of the cooler shows around with different artists, getting to bigger venues, And there are a lot of politics in this. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of politics you have to abide by. Like, we can't work here or they can't work here and things like that. So you really have to be creative in that sense. So, in 2 years, I would love to be, at a bigger venue. We're already working on one right now, but I don't want to overindulge because that's not how I do things. I don't want to just work on hype because that's not fair. Right. I've been let down so many times. People hype you up for a job or for whatever endeavor you guys end up doing, and it's like it just falls through. And then
where is it?
Exactly. And
thought you were doing something. Where is it at? Well,
exactly.
I just didn't get around to it.
Right.
Okay. Well, don't talk about it.
Right. So
show me. Don't tell me.
And that's what we're trying to do is show people, that we're here. We're here to stay, and we're going to continue. I would love to throw festivals, throw kind of interesting, kind of unique and creative events, because imagining if I was an 18 to 25-year-old, even 30-year-old, I mean, what would be interesting for me to go to as a concert goer? And that's kind of how I work and how I want to create things. Like, what would be fun? What would be enjoyable instead of like, hey, this is the same thing every weekend, That's it's kind of our mentality, and you have to kind of create and be new and be unique to thrive. And in a couple years, we'd love to be working with tons of different companies and hopefully more collaborators. I've met so many people, and I'm sure there's so many other people that would love to collaborate with us. So a big shout out also. We did just get added to Prime's Saga Network. So it's really a cool networking kind of thing on Tuesdays. So it's for promoters, it's for artists, it's for vendors. And, I think that's kind of a step into getting into helping out in different veins and connecting with new people and collaborating with different, groups to kind of make things, different for the concert goer that we're always trying to, I guess, appease.
Sure. Well, if somebody wanted to find Prime Saga, where can they find them?
So,
because I had personally, I've not heard of them before.
Right. So Prime is the company, and Saga Network is the event that we're also part of. Also, Next Realm is, and Nocturnal Waves, Oddity Productions, and I believe there's someone else that I can't think of off the top of my head. But anyways, it's Tuesdays, first Tuesday of every month. We're going to be joining that. I think it's going to be kind of a cool thing. So for people who don't know, there is a bunch of locals and a bunch of vendors and just all the industry people kind of meeting and talking. And
where is it at?
It's at Industry Alley Bar, which is over by Southside.
Okay.
So that's a cool thing that if you're trying to get into networking and, playing or, just want to talk and hang out, you should come to that. We also have our open decks, our personal open decks, which is going to be, the next one is February 8th. So any of the new aspiring DJs would love to come and
come on out, show up, people. Don't sit at home and be on the sidelines. Bring your USB.
Exactly. And actually, next Saturday we have Dirty Snatchers. So I've been following. Actually, sometimes I forget about things too, because I'm already almost past that show because we have to keep on.
You're working on the next.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Not that this is anywhere close to finish, but you always have to be 2 steps ahead of yourself. So anyways, Dirty Snatch is another funny kind of story. We were at the point of, hey, we booked enough shows maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I was just sitting on SoundCloud just searching, like the real searching when you have nothing else to do and you're just looking, just going down this rabbit hole. So I went down the rabbit hole and I found Dirty Snatcher, and I was like, dude, this guy's music is great. I listened to a ton of his tracks, started looking deeper and deeper. Oh, he's from the United Kingdom. So found out he had gotten his visa. We'd reached out to him. So over this process of 2 years of talking to this artist and finding his music, we're finally bringing him next Saturday. So it's kind of cool personally seeing that, because, people are like, hey, I want to bring Nick out. Well, Nick, you're from the United States. Well, the person who wants you is in Australia. Can you go there? There's so many different things. Visas, a flight overseas is not cheap,
Sure.
Oh, so, there's those little things that people don't always realize. You can't just bring people over on a plane because it's not just free.
No, and I'm sure they all expect you to front that bill for them too, right?
Yeah, if I had a pilot license and a plane, shit, I'd bring everyone over here.
Well, shit, Michael, I've got all the confidence in the world with you. I think I think where you're going and what you've already done so far is just going to be so much more positive, and I think you got big things ahead of you. So, for all the listeners out there, if somebody wanted to get more in touch with Ham Promotions, how can they find you?
They can email me personally if they want, mike@hampromos.com if they have, any burning desire to send me an email. But we have plenty of social media. We have our Instagram, we have our Twitter, we have Facebook. We're at a lot of the shows for electronic shows. We usually are sporting these lovely ham shirts. This one actually is made by, shout out Eric, by the way.
Boom.
Eric.
Good job, Eric. It's a dope shirt.
He made this, and this is cool. He was inspired by our company, and I decided I wanted to put it on a shirt. So I put it on a shirt, gave him one of those. Our stickers are now those. So it's cool, sparking that creativity with people. But we are, we're everywhere. And feel free to reach out, come to one of our events, say hi. If you don't know Angie or Austin or myself, definitely look us up, hampromotions.com.
Well, you guys heard it, man. Michael Holtberg, Ham Promotions. We'll make sure to put a link to their social media accounts below the video. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of Fish Tank Sessions.